Chapter 56. I don't want you to have a boyfriend. Lisa struggled to escape him again, but she vividly felt one of his hands force her towards the wall and press her against the ice-cold surface. James's massive bulk pressed against her, and one of his hands had already slid in from below. The second their flesh contact, Lisa felt the immense heat of his hand. Her body began to tremble like a sieve. She felt his calloused fingertips slide across her flesh, leaving her with ripples of shudders in their wake. More than half the length of her clothing had been pushed up. His palm slid upwards and followed the curves of her body. But then, they heard a phone ringing. James took his lips from hers. With his breathing rapid and uneven, his eyes darted away as he listened to the sound. He softly swore at this unpleasant sound. The taste of her body still remained on his lips. He licked his lips softly and very sadly. He did not feel an ounce of repulsion. Instead, it made him experience a sense of great desire. Lisa's eyes were moist. Her cheeks were flushed with 2 spots of scarlet that looked just right. He let go of her. His hand was still warm, and as he brought it out, there was a light sheen of sweat on his palm. After glancing at Lisa, he hastily turned his head around and grabbed his phone swiftly. It was a call from Ryan's general secretary. James accepted the call. "What's up?" "Second young master, we were just notified that a woman did indeed barge in. Does second young master know this person?" "Yes, her name is Emily. It's definitely her." "Second young master, don't worry. She has already been sent back on Mr. President's directions. Everything should be okay now." "That's good. Thank you." "Second young master, you don't need to stick to formalities with me. Mr. President wishes his greetings to you and young madam." "Mr. President will return to the Carter mansion in the coming several days. He hopes to meet young madam." "Is that so? All right. He'll have the chance to meet her." He smiled weakly and raised his head to look at Lisa, who was standing at the side with her clothes still entirely disorganized. He put down his phone, peered at Lisa, and replied, "Your manager is fine now." Lisa glanced at him. Any sign of whatever that had transpired before could not be seen on his face at all. It was as if nothing had happened. He was still chatting to her as he peered at her with a crystal-clear gaze. However, she could still recollect the very clear waves of feeling that he had left on her body earlier. Her fury was tremendous, and she honestly wanted to toss all concerns aside and murder him. With a stomp of her foot, she yelled at James, "Get out! Stinking rogue!" Before James had even acknowledged this, Lisa was already walking towards him in tremendous leaps. She rained punches down on his body one after another. Although it did not hurt, it was nevertheless unpleasant. James could only recede repeatedly while staring at her growing wild. Even though he could easily hold down her thin and delicate body, he did not do so. He allowed himself to be forced outdoors that way. James said, "Lisa, what are you doing?" He held her wrist and gazed at her boiling hot cheeks. Lisa glanced at him with seething scorn. "Rogue, get out!" "Rogue?" His brow soon furrowed. "You're my wife, so everything I did is completely legal, right?" Lisa was honestly a bit speechless. James frowned and said, "So, how are you going to look for a boyfriend now? Lie and state that you're not married?" Lisa was simply contemplating it. She had not put it into effect at all yet. But how could she say this now? James gazed at her with dark, hooded eyes. He said seriously, "I won't permit you to find a boyfriend now." Lisa's heart jolted. What did he intend by this? James glanced at her. His dark and dreary look created a deep glitter. "So you'd best give up on this thought." Lisa still wanted to say something, but James abruptly drew closer again. "If you must give it a try, I advise you not to try provoking me again." The lines of his sharp, angular jaw were pushed taut. When he drew closer to her, a sense of authority arose spontaneously, quickly causing Lisa to be on edge and her heart to vigorously thump in her chest. With her eyes darting everywhere, Lisa swiftly pushed him out with all her power. "Don't think you can come in again and behave like a hoodlum, Saying this, she shut the door with a thud. Just like that, James was shut outside. He stared at the tightly closed bedroom door and sucked in a large breath. He was being shut outside the bedroom by his own wife? "Lisa. Just you wait. James snarled softly at the door. When he saw a maid walk by from the side, he put on a poker face and headed into the guest bedroom, mentally preparing to just put up with it for one night. Lisa laid on the bed, still feeling an uncomfortable heat in her face. She tossed and turned but could not sleep. Meanwhile, in the other room, while James had slept on the sofa for so long, and only now with great difficulty did he go to sleep on the bed, he felt a small discomfort all over his body. Because Lisa stayed in the bedroom, there was usually a light aroma lingering vaguely in the bedroom air. It seemed to be the perfume emanating from her body, yet it was also like the aroma of any other girl. On the other side, there was just the clean and fresh smell of the cleansed blankets in here. Although it did not smell bad, it nevertheless made him feel uncomfortable. When he raised his head and instantly wanted to go and have a look at the woman with an abnormally terrible sleeping posture, he could only see the wall. He slightly felt a little unfamiliar to the surroundings. He laid there for God knows how long before finally falling asleep. The next day, following the conclusion of production for the television series, Lisa had to travel to the corporate for a meeting to confirm her future intentions. Lisa came at the office bright and early. She spotted Emily with a dispirited expression on her face and hurriedly came over to ask, "Emily, what did you do yesterday? You suddenly disappeared halfway." A pinch of humiliation flashed across Emily's face. She lifted her head and replied, "I drank a bit too much." Lisa said, "I got some people to go over and ask around. They said that you barged into Mr. President's restricted area. Was everything fine?" Emily picked up her own hair as she said, "When I went there, Mr. President had obviously not arrived. I don't know how it became a limited area thereafter. Luckily, nothing much happened and they subsequently sent me back home." "Is that so? That's really awesome. It looks like Mr. President is quite a good person," Lisa said. Emily shrugged her shoulders noncommittally. "However, she looks more or less a little tired out." Lisa stated, "Coming up next are probably the publicity events." Emily responded, "Yes, they're rushing to broadcast the television series during the summer holidays. Although filming had concluded, the actual hectic period would approach after this. You must be prepared." Chapter 57. This lass is so likable. Very soon after, the first promotional event was launched. Nathan attended the event together with Lisa. At the meeting, Lisa observed from afar that Olivia had come along as well. She walked towards them with great strides. A queue of aides and workers followed after her, giving her an authoritative atmosphere. Lisa now sat in the common dressing room. When she momentarily glimpsed Olivia, she could not help but wonder, "She's not doing her makeup? Why did she leave?" The makeup artist looked at Olivia, who had walked past, and smiled. She said, "She's going to the private dressing room. She has a professional personal makeup artist to perform her makeup. Why would she need us?" Oh. Lisa finally understood. She was a celebrity. Of course, she was different from them, the new and undiscovered artists. Behind her, the other unknown actors following her mumbled in a sad tone, "She's not that famous either. But why are her treatment and overbearing aura identical to Sarah's?" The makeup artist reshaped Lisa's face while remarking, "After all, Olivia is different. Her familial lineage is apparent, and she's also the Ryan family's future young madam. She doesn't lack money, so of course she has an excellent aura about her." Lisa thought that it was extremely humorous. She and Olivia were clearly both members of the same family, but everyone did not know. The family had continuously avoided exposing Lisa's position as an illegitimate daughter. Lisa was likewise very dispensable in the family and was even a loathed character. Thus, she too could understand why everyone did not know her family background. Luckily, Lisa did not care at all either. It was to the point where it would be far more torturous to her if she and Olivia were to engage in advertising with the label of sisters placed on them. Lisa felt at relaxed as she performed her cosmetics and simultaneously surfed on her Weibo account. The first round of commercial photos for the television series had already been issued. Everyone's character posters had been wonderfully photographed and uploaded on different news sites and Weibo pages for advertisement. Lisa saw the comments below. Some persons were indeed neutral. They glanced at Lisa's character poster and concluded that she was incredibly lovely. But there were some who were bound to be bitter. They commented straight at the bottom, "She looks horribly ugly." Or they mentioned things like, "She doesn't fit the character's image at all. That nose is obviously fake. At which hospital did she extend her eye corners? Why does it appear precisely the same as that person? It's presumably from the same doctor." Seeing these comments, Lisa's blood began to boil. With her phone in her palm, she whispered gloomily, "How can they say that I had plastic surgery? I'm obviously all natural." She raised her head to ask the makeup artist, "Do I look like I had plastic surgery? Yours personally does desire to undergo plastic surgery, but initially I need to have money too. Yours truly received a role for the first time. How can I obtain money to get surgery?" The makeup artist busted out laughing immediately, believing that this Lisa was really amusing. Hannah sat at the side, eating something and waiting for Mom to apply her cosmetics. All right, which rookie debuts without first being scolded? Furthermore, plastic surgery is so easy to acquire nowadays, but I simply can't picture anybody believing that nose of yours is phony. It's so flat that if you actually spent money to do surgery on it, then the hospital's ability was a little too poor. Lisa turned her head and whimpered, "It's not that flat either." Hannah could not be bothered with her and said to the cosmetic artist, "Contour her nose a little more. It's too flat. It's so ugly." Just when everyone was having a nice time, Nathan was too lured to the dressing room by the cheerful laughing here. "What's happening here?" Nathan asked someone. "It's Lisa." The manager replied and continued, "She chatters everywhere she goes. She's really adept at it too. She can develop good ties with anyone. She's simple-minded, but her personality is really not bad. It's easy for everyone to adore chatting with her, and she doesn't act pompous at all either." Nathan grinned and looked towards her way. He glanced at Lisa closely before likewise walking over in a few steps. "Hey, what are you so happy chatting about?" Nathan stated. A few makeup workers and lesser performers all spaced out little when Nathan came. However, they saw that Nathan seemed to be in a good mood. He sat down directly, and they also consequently got more at ease. Nathan glanced at Lisa. "I heard you laughing from so far away. Your voice is really loud." After increasingly getting comfortable with Nathan, Lisa genuinely did not feel that he was as challenging to get along with as everyone said. Instead, he wasn't very pretentious, so she began to become more informal when chatting with him as well. "You don't like the noise? If you dislike it, then go to the private dressing room over there. Why would such a significant person run over here to gather together with us? Hey, how can you not even welcome me? Didn't you see everyone else ushering me in with drums and gongs?" The remaining persons all stared at the two of them speaking together like this, and could not help but be little surprised. Who mentioned that Nathan did not like speaking with the other actors in the cast? Obviously, he was extremely pleasant, but even the individuals who knew this were extremely astonished. They recognized that Nathan's relationship with Lisa was genuinely not awful. Otherwise, they would not have as much fun chatting. The moment Olivia came out, she observed the two of them in the middle, surrounded by others. She did not know what they were chatting about that made the entire shared changing room appear to be in an abnormally pleasant mood, filled with enthusiastic laughter and cheery chatter. Olivia snorted disdainfully. "This Lisa is so flirtatious." Beside her, a small aide said, "Not everyone has a natural advantage like Sister Olivia. She doesn't have money or influence or even a solid family background, much less a wealthy and attractive fiancé, like Ryan. Of all, she can only depend on her abilities to captivate men in order to ascend up the social ladder." Hearing the assistant say this, Olivia felt much more energized. Precisely. I can't even be bothered to develop wonderful friendships with these unusual people. Were they even worthy of her? But watching Nathan have such a terrific relationship with her, Olivia did truly feel extremely jealous. Very soon, they were starting to make plans for the interview at the front. But unexpectedly, when Nathan went for his interview, he dragged Lisa along with him too. Lisa was originally a little concerned, but the reporters were also incredibly excited and promptly persuaded the two of them to accept the interview together. Lisa stood beside Nathan. Looking at the various reporters encircling them with microphones lined up in a row, one after another in front of her, she felt tremendously complex. During the few months preceding this, she had never anticipated that she would one day stand in the limelight and be questioned. But in the little span of a few months, her world had already experienced an earth-shattering shift. However, the reporters below were hostile. One of them gazed at Lisa and came up immediately to ask, "Lisa, how do you feel about being put together as a couple with Nathan in the past?" Lisa did not expect the reporter to be so forthright. In that moment, she was unable to answer. However, beside her, Nathan instantly took the microphone and screamed, "She definitely feels that it was great. After all, it's really an honor to be involved in gossip with a nice guy like me." Lisa raised her head graciously. Nathan smiled a reassuring glance at her as if he was hinting that she could rely on him for everything. The reporter continued, "Lisa, did you two meet privately again?" Nathan seized the microphone again and said, "How can we meet? Thanks. To all of you, we can't even meet at pleasant gatherings. I made a friend after so enormous struggle. You guys should stop adding to my troubles." In an instant, everyone started howling with amusement at being reprimanded by Nathan. Chapter 58. Ryan was angered. The reporter looked. This Nathan was definitely protecting Lisa. The reporter walked to Lisa. Lisa just began filming, and she has already gotten to know such a good senior. Isn't she lucky? Nathan could not possibly deflect this topic as successfully. Lisa grinned and hurriedly said, "Yes. Senior Nathan has been incredibly friendly to me. He shared with me a lot of his acting experiences." Nathan said, "How are you going to repay me then?" "Huh? Repay?" Lisa did not expect him to divert the topic yet again. "How can I repay you?" Nathan asked. "Shouldn't you treat me to a good meal?" The reporter at the side was going crazy. "You two are going to eat together?" "She should treat me to a meal, obviously." The reporter came closer to them. Lisa urgently wanted to crush Nathan, but on the surface she could only force herself to answer, "Yes, of course, it'll be my treat." Nathan laughed. "Forget it. Your wage is too low. If you treat me, you're going to wind up eating grass. I'm merely joking with you, dumb girl. You don't have to agree to everything." Lisa's face dropped. The reporter laughed along. The interview finally completed. Lisa climbed down as Nathan grabbed her shoulder and grinned as he said, "You're still such a newbie. Keep working hard." Lisa thought to herself secretly, "If it was not for your interfering, I may have done even better." However, Olivia soon joined them. She grinned and said to Lisa, "Not a bad performance. Nathan actually took care of you today, speaking so much with you and even laughing with you." Lisa asked, "Was he not supposed to make jokes with me?" Of course, he's allowed to. However, Nathan has never been so lighthearted around a fellow actress. He's usually much better with males, and he would utterly overlook ladies. That's why people suspected that he was gay. The very next day after the interview, Lisa did not anticipate to find herself in the headlines with Nathan yet again. This time, with Nathan's protection, the news had all praise for her. About the other side, Sarah read the report about herself and felt enraged. There was a large portrait of Nathan and Lisa, although the picture of her covered only a little corner. She even went all out to wear an expensive branded skirt so that she may look as dazzling as possible. However, Lisa's name was so prominent now that the story basically carelessly included a paragraph noting that Sarah was also appearing in the play. That was it? Sarah was hopping furious. From the table, she aggressively flung the newspaper onto the floor. Beside her, Emily also did not anticipate things to turn out like that. She said, "What the hell is going on? To believe that Lisa had this much power." Seeing how her daughter was compromised in the article, Emily was likewise upset. "Lisa must be deliberately outcasting you." Sarah's face was blood red with rage. "Lisa, just you wait. Meanwhile, in the Ryan residence, Lisa accidentally sneezed. One of the maids immediately ran over to her. "Madam, what happened? Is the air conditioning too cold?" Nothing. Lisa grinned as she got up with the newspaper in her hand. Ryan had just returned home. Looking at him gleefully, she remarked, "I'm in the headlines for the show's promotions." Ryan observed her grinning widely. He walked over to her and took the newspaper only to see the picture of her and Nathan together. Lisa continued, "I never thought I'd see the day when I get to be in the headlines." Ryan grabbed the newspaper and gently said, "It's not like this is your first time." Lisa recognized Ryan was talking to the rumors previously. "That's completely different. That was a hearsay. This time it's due of my labor. I'm in the headlines now as an actor. Of course it's different." Ryan lifted his head. "It looks like Nathan took great care of you." Upon hearing Ryan, Lisa nodded excitedly. Yes, Nathan took incredibly wonderful care of me. Olivia told me that he's normally not as helpful. Who knew that he could actually be nice? Also, he was incredibly skilled and knowledgeable in handling interviews. No questions fazed him. I never realized that he was not only brilliant at acting, but also adept in dealing media. No wonder he's so famous. Ryan's face soon went green. Lisa did not notice and continued bouncing around in joy, adoration all over her face. Ryan got up and flung the newspaper onto the table. "Hey, why did you throw my newspaper?" Lisa looked up sadly. Ryan paused in his stride and told the maid, "From tomorrow, cancel the subscription of pointless entertainment news like this." "Yes, sir." "What?" Lisa stood forward. "Ryan, why not?" Ryan remarked without turning. "I don't like you being flirtatious." Lisa's face became black. Ryan, you're biased. Acting is not flirtatious. It's an art. You know nothing about it." Ryan huffed and turned around. His black pupils were obvious in his icy eyes. He said coolly, "Art is also a form of selling you." Lisa got green. "Capitalist? Money grubber, short-tempered, uneducated, uncultured swine. Your whole body stinks of copper." The edges of Ryan's mouth curved up. He grinned viciously and shot her down. "Don't forget that you're eating and using my stinky copper." Lisa stared surprised as Ryan invited in Ethan with a gesture of his hand. Ryan said frankly, "Collect all the entertainment news. Those dirty garbage periodicals confound the youth. Keeping them around will only produce issues. Once you're done, replace them with economic news." "Yes, sir." Ethan stared at Ryan's tight expression and then squinted at Lisa before softly vanishing. Lisa's fingers were shaking as she pointed at Ryan. You're too overbearing." Ryan scoffed coldly. With huge strides, he went in. Looking at Ryan's chilly back, Lisa sat down angrily. Her nose flared as she stared at the newspaper that had been dumped on the floor. That damned Ryan. He genuinely labeled her flirtatious and accused her of manipulating the youth. Actors were indeed often misconstrued, especially by capitalists, like him who considered that they were not contributing anything substantial. Yes, actresses may be overhyped, and she had been offended by many people prior. However, she did not expect Ryan to think that way too. This person was absolutely evil. To the core. Chapter 59. He really left home. At night, Lisa returned to her room and closed the door. She was not going to let James in. She waited for a time, but there was no sound. Quietly, she opened the door and heard James, who appeared to be on the phone. "Emily, what's wrong?" Upon hearing Emily's name, Lisa was curious and started eavesdropping. James was clutching his phone and listened to Emily whine. "James, I quarreled with my family. I have nowhere to go now. Can you let me remain at your place for a few days?" James thought hard. "Why did you quarrel with your family?" "It was because of... Forget it. Anyway, I have no place to go now. My mother and father even confiscated my credit cards." "Okay, I'll arrange a place for you and go over to find you." "Okay, I'll be waiting." James stood there. As he made some ideas, he flexed his wrists and called Ryan. "Prepare the villa at the bay. Emily needs a place to stay. I'm headed over to her now." "Yes, sir." Ryan noticed James's harsh gaze and dared not mention anything things. He retreated. He caught a peek of Lisa and could not help but sympathize with her. James's fury was undoubtedly something that not everybody could handle. Lisa watched James walk away. She remained at the door and silently cursed at him. That damned half-hearted James. He dared to meet another woman while he already had a wife. When she was done, her heart felt uncomfortable. Actually, Emily was his genuine love. Was it not assumed that the one not getting affection was going to be the third party? She was the actual third party. James actually left home and did not return that night. Lisa barely heard James remark something about the villa near the bay, and envisioned him cuddling with Emily there. Meanwhile, in the mansion by the bay, Emily put down her luggage and joyfully stared at James. "Thank you so much, James. If it wasn't for you, I genuinely wouldn't know what to do." James let the maid take in Emily's stuff while the two of them sat on the sofa. "Emily, what exactly happened at home?" Emily bit her bottom lip. It's nothing big." She gazed at the floor and looked sad. "They weren't approving of us being together all along. Now that they know you're married, they are attempting to get me a boyfriend. I disagreed, and we ended up arguing." James stared attentively at her as he crouched down beside her. Emily. She had suffered because of him. Emily raised her head. "I am not getting a boyfriend. I want to wait for you, James. There's no happiness in marrying someone I don't love. I won't allow myself to suffer for the rest of my life." She was talking about herself, but at the same time she was reminding him that he was not with someone he loved and had to face her daily. James scowled in discontent. However, glancing at Emily, he opted to control his rage. Today, he was not in a good mood. He was annoyed, and his heart burned. Even Emily could tell. From the onset, James's attitude had been as chilly as ice, and his eyes were like daggers. His mouth had bent downward sadly. However, Emily still felt rather pleased. Perhaps he was not happy because of how her family treated her. She had always knew he was a strong-willed individual. She assumed that he must have been envious. Emily leaned against him and glanced at him. "James, what am I supposed to do? My relatives will continue seeking to pressure me. I don't even want to go back home anymore these days. Who knows what kind of guy they'll try to put me up with." James turned to her and said openly, "You can stay here as long as you want." Emily clutched at him and said, "Are you going to stay with me?" James sighed and said without hesitation, "Emily, that won't be right. I'm a married man." Emily's face sunk. "But I'm scared to be alone here. I've already delegated 5 maids here. There's a cook in the kitchen and my security guards. Everything is secured. I won't allow anything happen here. You may rest assured. No matter how many people are here, they can't compare to you." Emily gazed at him. "I don't want to be alone here. I don't feel safe." However, James sat there and didn't say a word. Emily was furious and peered at him. "Or you're thinking of going back to your pretty little wife. That's why you don't want to stay here?" "Pretty little wife?" James's brows twisted again, and his eyes flickered. He looked at Emily. "Forget it. I'll stay here." It was not that he had not remained outside his home before, but he had never stayed in the same room with her. Because of his condition, he could not have physical touch with her. Emily was exhilarated. She promptly ordered for supper to be made. Her exquisite face brightened up. Seeing how thrilled Emily was, James decided to go ahead and remain. He owed Emily too much. Thus, a simple matter like this making Emily happy also eliminated part of his guilt. Later, they ate their supper and returned to their various flats. James was completely uninterested. Emily wanted to ask him over and see if she could have him stay in her room. However, he never gave her the opportunity to ask and returned to his own room. Emily could only stamp her foot and walk to her own room. James actually did not return home the whole night. Lisa went out to have her breakfast. There was only one plate of food on the table in the large hall. She felt moody. Even though there was just one less person, and there were so many servants running around obliviously, the home suddenly felt empty to her, like something was missing. Soon enough, the employer called and excitedly told her about an advertising opportunity. She promptly rushed over. When she came, Olivia explained her all the information surrounding the advertisement. There would be a lot of spectators. With her endorsement, it would substantially improve her appeal as well. However, she did not imagine that this excellent opportunity would lead her into her very first defamation plot. Chapter 60. He was slightly fed up with Emily. Lisa walked towards the endorsement company together with Olivia. Lisa walked while saying, "It's my first time as an endorsement model. I didn't believe that I would ever take an advertisement job." Olivia grinned and glanced at her. "Now, you're someone with a piece of work. Also, here is your moment to rise. Stop believing that you're just a background actor. You're already an artist with some renown, you understand? Lisa said, Hey, I'm still just a little unaccustomed to it. I feel like everything occurred so quickly. A few months ago, I had nothing at all. Olivia said, This profession is precisely like that. You can get renowned relatively swiftly as long as you can take the opportunity. However, you must be alert too. This is precisely the era when it's easiest to be silenced. If something comes up time and you haven't began to develop popular, the firm won't squander so much money on saving you. You still don't have social connections of your own, unlike artists who are already stable and can still gradually recover from missteps. If anything happens during this interval, there actually won't be any option for you to stand up again. Understand? Olivia spoke substantially more to Lisa since she had progressively grown to feel that Lisa was not that terrible. She also hoped that Lisa may continue a long time and become more and more popular. Hearing this, Lisa bent her head gravely. I understand. Following this, the procedure of signing the endorsement deal was quite smooth. It was only when Lisa walked out that she coincidentally spotted Sarah, a now famous film star. Outside, a queue of people frowned at Lisa and Olivia when they observed them coming out as if they were burning with hate. Sarah had also just achieved successful in the past 2 years, and her firm was furiously advertising her. However, the two of them had never crossed paths at all, so Lisa was a little perplexed. Olivia urged her along to leave this area. Olivia answered, Ignore her. This commercial was initially hers indeed, but the sponsoring business changed it to you at the last minute. That's why she's in a fit of anger, Lisa said. That means that I robbed her of her advertisement? Olivia said, That's technically the case. But in this profession, there's no such thing as stealing roles. You can claim that only genuine capability talks. The sponsorship organization took a liking to your abilities to blossom. That's why they chose an artist who's rising. All right, then. That night, Lisa followed Olivia to dine along with the advertisement. It was crucial to recognize their approval of her. In the car, Lisa called Olivia and asked her where they were to meet. Olivia said, You go in first. It's room 302. I'll be there soon. Olivia was still in the heart of a traffic snarl and was presently nervous. She put down the phone and looked in front again. Images of James on a state visit were shown on a huge screen. She could not help but gaze blankly. James stood erect, clad in a suit. On the TV, he appeared extremely good-natured. However, his expression hid a sternness. Olivia recalled the general perspective of many towards James. They indicated that he was an iron-handed president who was adept in dealing with both exterior and internal political relations of the nation. Thus, he was embedded firmly in the hearts of the people. She spaced out momentarily, but when she regained her wits, she struck head-on with the car in front of hers. She had caused a rear-ended collision. Damn it! Olivia cursed passionately before hurriedly stepping out of the car. Outside the meeting place, Lisa attempted repeated calls to Olivia, but she did not answer. Left with little alternative, Lisa could only enter the private room, the number that Olivia had told her, on her own. However, when she opened the door to the chamber, she immediately saw the people within shaking from side to side. They were either lying down or standing crookedly, and all of them looked fairly strange. However, it was apparent that they were not the persons Lisa expected to meet tonight. Lisa was instantly dumbfounded. She turned around and was going to go, but someone inside gripped her wrist forcefully. Outside, in the corridor that no one saw, Sarah was gripping her phone with a bit of a sly pout at the corners of her lips. She said into the phone, I've arrived, Ethan. Thanks for telling me that she's here. Tonight. I'll surely make it so that she can't leave. Before Lisa managed to properly react, she heard the police barging in already. All of you freeze. Put down the drugs that are in your hands and stand against the wall one by one. Drugs? Lisa began to scan around intently. When she stared at the weird artifacts scattered over the room and those bizarre people, she finally understood. A tremor slowly began to radiate from the bottom of her heart. If an artist got connected with drugs, what did he or she face? It was not like there were no examples before her. Nathan was presently in his office. Emily's unexpected call certainly disrupted his work once again. He felt a little resentful. Over the past 2 days, Emily had been chasing after him fiercely. She had already been a major interruption to his job. Emily replied, "Nathan, you're still not coming over to sleep tonight?" After the first day that he spent there, he felt little uncomfortable, so on the second day, he made an excuse that he was busy with work and did not go over again. But then, Emily began to phone constantly, to ask him about his work worries, making it slightly tough for him to fight her off. "I'm still a bit busy." "Emily, if you feel bored, I can ask Richard to send a car over to pick you up. You can go shopping. I've already directed someone to leave the card for your use. Otherwise, you might go overseas to shop around. You can take the family's airplane. That's always available at home and fly over." "I don't want that." "Nathan, what happened? Have you gotten weary with me? Did I grab onto you too tightly? Are you attempting to chase me away?" Nathan stroked his brow. "No, you're thinking too much." Richard was still waiting at the side with his hands hanging by his sides. Nathan waved at him and indicated for him to wait for a moment. He mentioned to Emily over the phone, "I'm going out of town on an official business for a few days. Be obedient, Emily. When I'm done, I'll give you a call." Emily's spirits were slightly dampened. Hearing him say this, she could only replied, "All right then, I'm hanging up. Love you, Nathan." Emily could not press him too much either. She was quite frightened that Nathan would be disgusted with her at this important time now. However, she could not be too far away from him either. Otherwise, Nathan would undoubtedly get together with that little bitch. This terrified Emily tremendously too. She could only put down the phone and deliberate savagely about what she should do to own him fully. Nathan was genuinely traveling overseas. From the side, Richard watched Nathan put down the phone and add, "Sir, the airplane at the private airport has already been prepared. They are presently coordinating the timing for takeoff with the National Flight Division. The plane can probably take off in around half an hour. Would you like to go to the airport now?" "All right, make some preparations and we'll head to the airport." Nathan rose up and departed. Richard recalled Lisa's matter. He assumed that Nathan had overlooked Lisa for quite a few days. "Sir, do we need to inform Madam?" Nathan's face darkened. "There's no need. Lisa, a few days had gone, but she had not phoned even once. She was honestly executing her work and meeting her responsibilities as a contractual wife." Meanwhile, at the Special Police Department, Lisa was being grilled at the Special Department because she was an artist. "Just confess, Lisa. You're definitely no artist here and now. You're a criminal. This technique won't work on us." The investigating officer gazed at Lisa scornfully. He disliked these artists the most. Although they acted and appeared lofty and mighty, they were all lowly rascals.